Hi everyone, welcome! Today we're going to talk about how to choose the right market for your product. Before we go ahead, remember to subscribe to our channel for more insight and leave a like and a comment for this video. Moving forward with our topic. Today I would like to start with some statistics which I believe they're able to give you the best insights ever. So pretty much everyone knows where to sell because of the most common 5 markets: Canada, Australia, United States, the European Union and UK. So you know that e-commerce there is well developed, there's demand, so you start from there. Fair enough. However, you should consider also the emerging markets. Those markets where e-commerce is recently growing at a faster pace compared to those established markets where you already sell into, like Canada, US. Let me give you an example. Australia, Brazil, their growth rate year on year, it's unbelievable. So when you look for a new market, you should consider also what's the growth. Maybe it's still emerging, there's not so much demand, but there will be soon. And that's your chance to be one of the first ones. Let's take Brazil, for example. The year-on-year growth is massive. However, the e-commerce may not be so developed as other countries like Canada, US, and so on, of course. That's also for multiple reasons, like the logistic network is not so developed, secure payment methods, and so on. Of course, you can't compare the logistic network between Brazil and the US or Brazil and Canada. Definitely US and Canada are among the top 5 markets for e-commerce. However, Brazil e-commerce growth is massive year on year. Definitely, it's a market you should think of, especially because nobody still sells there. Not so many people, because you should most likely have a local fulfillment center, you need to import. So it's a different story compared to shipping cross-border, where generally, even with express courier, it's going to take some time to reach Brazil. And if you think about it, it's the same way when you get on a plane, you decide to have a trip to Brazil. Do you go from, I don't know, Italy, Rome to Brazil with just one flight? That's never going to happen. So you always take multiple flights. Same if you go from France to Australia. Most likely, there's no direct flight. Same goes for parcels. Most likely, there's no direct flight from where your fulfillment center or your manufacturer is to Brazil, for example, any city in there, or Argentina, or anywhere else in the South America. Definitely, you should invest in local fulfillment for now if you want to start in Brazil, or ship with express options, but those options are very expensive because of the missing flights, especially during COVID, and also for the fact that the logistics is not so developed. So even if an express courier, it's harder compared to other countries to deliver there. So of course, a fulfillment center is an investment, but at the same time, it's quite a good investment if you think about it. Being the first ones, you're going to struggle for maybe a few months, but then your e-commerce business will probably grow at the same pace. China is always the one on top. Of course, such a big market, and also the percentage of internet users and buyers is quite high. It's like 70% or 80% of the entire population. So APAC, for example, Asia Pacific, the retail e-commerce sales are double the ones in North America. So you see, you may think about, okay, US is easier to sell, Canada is easier to sell, UK is easier to sell. Are you sure? Just because everyone does that, just because it was the trend a few years ago, it doesn't mean it is still today. Of course it is, but still, consider other emerging markets where the demand is very high, there are not so many competitors or so many, let's say, e-commerce stores, but overall, the biggest markets. So now we'll talk about the biggest. The biggest markets are generally China, US, UK, Japan, South Korea, Germany, and then France, and so on. Japan is such a big market for e-commerce, same as China. Number of internet users is massive. Like China has 70% of internet users and buyers compared to the population. Same for Japan. Internet users and buyers are the 70% of the population. They have 128 million people there. And if you think about it, it's the 3rd largest economy in the world. Let's look at the country names. We have China, we have Japan, and we have South Korea in the first 6. Biggest market. Guess what? They're all in APAC, in Asia Pacific. And if already now the retail e-commerce sales in Asia Pacific are double the ones in the North America, then by 2023 it's expected that Asia Pacific alone will be higher than the rest of the world combined. So other than that, So if you look at numbers, you definitely want to sell in Asia Pacific or start selling there. But if you look at potential, you want to probably start with South America too, or countries like Mexico and South America like Brazil or Argentina. So you should look at the growth rate of the e-commerce overall. You don't have to look at the country, type of country, culture or anything else. Mainly their growth, not how well they are established already. Think about Singapore. E-commerce there is booming. There are like 6 million people almost all of them are internet users and buyers. So definitely Singapore is a market you want to consider maybe. So if you look at some statistics and data, the markets that have the most and the biggest growth year on year, the first one is actually Argentina, then we have Singapore, then we have Spain, Brazil, and so on. There's also India in the first ones. Let's think about India and Brazil. So they're one of the most growing markets for the year on year growth, but also they have quite undeveloped logistic network, payment methods, and so on. So when you decide where to sell, you should think about investment too. So it's a great opportunity, but requires some investment, especially because, for example, in India, 83% of the sales, online sales, are done cash on delivery. They prefer to order with a cash on delivery. So if you want to be successful in India, you should start from considering the cash on delivery payment method. However, I'm not saying you're not going to be able to sell anything to India if you don't offer cash on delivery. It's just that you should consider the local culture too and the habit. This is something we talked about in another video. What's the habit? Similar to Brazil, similar to Italy, the cash on delivery is still quite in habit. However, the logistic network is not so developed. So the best thing would be to establish a fulfillment center locally. So maybe what you could do is to leverage a little bit more Amazon for the markets where you're not really sure you want to sell into, or you're not sure that you're going to be successful. You can always try Amazon. Amazon can now sell, for example, in the Middle East. So it's not available in any country, but you can still ship to any country from other, let's say, Amazon fulfillment centers. For example, in the US. You can still ship pretty much worldwide. But of course, having a store in a local language that's targeting just that market, which means just India or Brazil, that's a total different impact compared to using Amazon to ship worldwide. Especially because those countries have also their own local marketplaces, like Lazada, Shopee, for example, for Asia Pacific, Flipkart for India, and so on. Taobao for China, AliExpress, so not so easy to sell through Amazon. But for countries where Amazon has a well-established network, and it means they have a lot of sales and a lot of users that they ship online on Amazon Marketplace quite often, then you should probably start leveraging maybe Amazon. Another thing is that there are markets in the Middle East like Saudi Arabia and the UAE that are also growing, and the percentage of people speaking English in UAE is quite high, so you're not going to have any problem to communicate locally. At the same time, in Saudi Arabia you may need some Arabic, but English speaking websites are still quite popular. Amazon launched their marketplace there too, in the Middle East, and you should probably start leveraging Amazon and the network and the multiple languages that they can offer you without investing too much, and start testing the market. So, after giving you all these examples and statistics and insights, let's recap to understand what you should do and how you should target and choose your market. First of all, your budget. How much money do you have to invest? Do you actually want to invest something? If the answer is yes, my suggestion would be to probably start by well-established markets so that you can build your brand, and then focus on emerging markets. Then if your answer is no, you should probably go for secure markets like US, Canada, Australia, and the European Union. Second, understand the culture, as we always said. You should understand what their habits are, if they actually use that product. If you want to sell like a rice cooker in Italy, that's never gonna work. We don't use even rice cookers. I've never used a rice cooker in Italy in my life. If I really wanted to eat rice, I would just boil some water as I do with the pasta, and that's all, and wait for it to cook. But if you do sell in Asia, for example, you're most likely going to be successful. So understand the culture and understand the habits and understand the payment methods too. As I said, Italy, Brazil, India, they still have a quite high percentage, like as I said, India for example, 33% of people buy on cash on delivery. Then you should consider also how much time you have to invest to launch, because generally it's always preferred to have the website in the local language. Now, I understand you can easily translate and have your website, just one website, one domain.com, and target multiple markets and just change the language, but let's be clear on that. It's not going to work the same way as it could if you have different domains based on the local market, let's say .fr or .it for Italy and France. So definitely there's the emotional part to it, right? The fact that you have a local website in your own language just for you. It looks less suspicious, especially when English is not even your native language. Then you're gonna build your website already in another language, which is not your own, and then translate into other local languages that are also not yours. So think about the investments first. Like, how much money do you want to invest? If you're willing to invest, you can start selling into well-established markets to establish your brand, and then start investing into local fulfillments and network in emerging markets. You need to understand the culture. Remember, always understand the culture if the product can actually be sold in those countries, if there's going to be any demand. Understand your competitors. Is there anyone selling there already? Leverage marketplaces, especially Amazon and the network that they have, to test your product if you don't want to start right away. And language. Remember, it would be always better to have local languages website with local domains rather than a general store just in English. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Before you leave, remember to subscribe to our channel and leave a like and a comment for this video. See you in the next one.